Hi! I wanted to make a quick video on my very first YouTube video to kind of talk about my experience going to see BTS at CitiField, try and give some advice, kind of fill in gaps that I couldn't find in other videos when it came to going to a BTS concert GA. I personally didn't have any experience going to a GA concert like this where people camp out, people get there super early in the morning. I had just been to like music festivals and things, or shows in like intimate settings where people will line up but they won't camp out. So I had no experience in this. I didn't know anything about it except what I had learned from YouTube videos, and I just wanted to make a quick video sharing my concert experience and sharing some of the footage that I took from the concert because I was super close to the stage, and I didn't have to camp out to do that. So I kind of just wanted to share my experience going to see the Love Yourself tour in New York. My name is McKenna. I am a college student. I go to school in Northern Virginia, and I am originally from a more southern state, a neighboring state. And I have been a BTS fan since November of 2017. The first song I ever heard by BTS was Dope back in like 2015, and I didn't realize it when it was like making rounds through Tumblr. And I remember the opening of Dope, like RM and Jungkook, like that first little bit of Dope. I remembered that from Tumblr, but I didn't get hooked by that. It took me 2 more years. So I was on the dance side of YouTube. I was watching hip hop combinations, and it was recommended that I watch the DNA rehearsal video. I watched it and I have fallen head over heels with them. I am obsessed with them. They have changed my life. I knew when they announced the CitiField show that it would be my last chance to see them on this tour after not being able to get a ticket to Newark. So, and I wasn't ready to drop $700 something on a ticket to go see the Newark show, but I was prepared to drop $250 for a GA ticket for CitiField, and when I got the ticket I was so ecstatic and I had the best time. So the story of my experience going to this concert was that my mom picked me up after my 10 a.m. philosophy class on Friday, and she drove me up to New York to stay with my aunt in Queens. I'm lucky I did not have to pay for transportation. Thank goodness. I didn't have to pay for a place to stay, thank goodness. So really, my expenses for the trip came down to my $250 ticket and then $30 something for fees. I'm pretty sure my ticket came out to $283, and then I ended up spending a lot on cabs, but that was really the bulk of my expenses. I didn't get any merch, but we'll get to that. So I had talked to people on Twitter about when is a good time to show up to the venue. I talked to a girl who was 700th in line for the Newark show, and she said that she showed up at 5 in the morning, and she was about like 4 rows back from exactly where I wanted to be on the extended stage. I'll show like a little diagram here of the layout of the BTS tour stage and where I wanted to be. She was exactly where I wanted to be. So I figured if I show up at 5 in the morning, it wouldn't be an issue. I would get a good spot in line, and I would end up exactly where I wanted to be. So I used the Curb app to call a New York City taxi to schedule it for the next morning from 4:30 to 4:45. I packed my bag for the next day, and I stayed up and I talked to my aunt all night. Ended up going to bed at midnight, woke up at 4. And when I was trying to sleep, I was completely failing. I was so excited about waking up, and also so nervous that I would miss my alarm that I just could not sleep. So CitiField had released this map ahead of time to tell those of us who were in GA where we needed to be, where we needed to line up by 8 to get our wristbands, and 8 was when they were going to pass out those wristbands. I think CitiField did a really good job of like providing a map, setting out rules, and giving us times of where we needed to be and when. But when I got to the venue, things were a little muddled because so many people had camped out. So I dropped off at the bullpen gate, which is eventually where that map said I needed to line up, but it wasn't where I needed to line up right then. I saw on Twitter that the NYPD had moved campers officially to a parking lot at CitiField and that's where people were staying. And I had saw online that people were getting unofficial numbers from a fan on their hand to mark exactly where they were in line. So later when it was time to get wristbands, all the campers would like honor that rule and honor each other and stay in their spot in line. So I start walking toward the F lot and I run into a group of 3 girls who had all come together. I'm pretty sure they came from Colorado. So hi if you're watching this. They had all come from Colorado and they seemed really upset and they were walking in the direction of the bullpen gate. So I asked them, am I going the right direction to get to the campsite? And they told me, yeah, it's like right there, you can't miss it, just keep walking, there are a ton of tents. I asked them what was wrong and they told me that there were 2,300 people camping out and that they didn't want to be 2,300th in line. And so then we got into this discussion about camping and like, no offense if you're a camper, but how CitiField had said not to camp and how we didn't know if CitiField was going to honor the campers and the fact that they had camped out for like a week to see this concert and to get the best spot in line, or if they were going to stand by their no camping rule and just honor whatever line formed at the bullpen gate at 8 p.m. according to the map that they had given us on Twitter. So we decide we're not going to get numbers on our hands. We are going to stand in front of the bullpen gate. So by the time we get there, there are probably like 25 to 30 people standing in front of us, but we had a fantastic spot in what I thought was going to be the official line, but I was also trying not to get my hopes up. But we stand there for like a good hour. I was thinking I was gonna be 30th in line, I was gonna be on the barricade, it was gonna be amazing. I'm making a few other friends and we're talking, people are dancing, and this is until probably about 6 in the morning.
I'm here, I'm excited, I've made new friends. Updates to come.
So by 6 in the morning, there were probably a good 250 to 300 people lined up behind us and a good like 25 to 30 people in front of us. So at that point, CitiField staff came out, yelled at us, told us that we weren't allowed to be there, and tells us that we all need to go to parking lot F. So me and the girls that I had met all grabbed onto each other and we ran because everyone else was running. It's super dangerous. Resist the temptation. Don't do it. I just didn't want to lose my group. But I ran. I'm pretty sure someone fell and like scraped their face. Don't run. Don't run. But we ran. We got over to lot F and it was a mess. Like, it was insane. CitiField was not well prepared for the amount of people that would camp, the amount of people that would show up super early in the morning. They had no idea what a BTS concert would entail, and because of that, things were extremely messy.
Never mind, they decided to honor the campers, so I'm gonna be like not on the barricade, but it's fine, it's fine. Thanks, CitiField. The sun is up. It's a complete shit show. Good morning, CitiField.
Here's a drawing of how I can best explain what is going on. So up here at the front, you had the people who camped out. They were all in this snaking line. I think there was something, so they said that there were 2,000 campers or so, but it didn't really look like there were that many people. I think some people maybe had run off to the bathroom, maybe some of them were in hotels. I don't really know how the unofficial line worked, but I'm pretty sure you could save a spot for one other person in line. Maybe that's how that happened, not quite sure. Then right behind them, CitiField was herding us into a closed off pen for all of us to stand in before they put us into lines, which was really confusing. All of us wanted to get behind the campers, but they were telling us we couldn't get in the pen with the campers because we didn't have numbers on our hands. So we're in a pen with a couple of thousand people who, well, a couple thousand is a little liberal, 1,000 people who didn't have numbers on their hands yet. So at this point, the girls I'm with start talking to CitiField security. There are people arguing with CitiField security, telling them that it's unfair that they're honoring the campers when they said that there shouldn't be camping, wondering how this is gonna work, asking where we need to add on to the line, how they're gonna make sure that those of us who had been waiting there since 5 in the morning were going to get a good spot in line. All of this was just a complete mess and super confusing. In the process of them making lines, I got separated from my group. I thought I was in a good spot. I can also, here's another drawing showing approximately where I was. Here are two other lines in front of me. I was in the third line of the line of people who do not have numbers on their hands. The girls that I was separated with are still in this little pen thing in front of me. I figured they hadn't gotten in line. They're making more lines behind me. They're just not in line. I didn't think that they were in front of me in line. So when they DM'd me and asked me to meet back up with them, I said, hey, I'm in line. I like my spot. I've met new people. Bye. Which wasn't a personal thing as much as it was a, I don't want to give up my spot in line when I was fairly certain that it was the better spot in line.
I'm in a line now. I think it's kind of near the front, but I don't know if it's near the front, and I think they're still honoring campers, so like I don't know what's happening. We're on hour 4. They're passing out wristbands, but I'm like not at the real back of the line, but like this is all the people behind me. So many, hundreds of thousands, well not hundreds of thousands, thousands of people. Look at.
So hanging out with people at this point, it's 8. We think that they're passing out wristbands, but we can't really see any movement in the line. They haven't explained to us how it's gonna go, if someone's gonna walk around to us, if the line is going to move. So we're all sitting down in the parking lot in CitiField. Someone has a Bluetooth speaker and is like blasting all the songs on answer, and people are dancing and talking, and I made some new friends, and it was really, really great. And then eventually I see my old group again. They look like they're going to line up in front of me. Here's another drawing of where they are. So I say goodbye to my new friends, I get back in line with my old friends, and I secure a better spot in line. So after that, we're waiting for like another hour. I get my wristband at 10 a.m. I am number 2576.
Calling a cab home, I'm gonna eat, and then I'm gonna be number 2576 to enter the stadium, and hopefully I can still see. Prayers. There were closer to like 8,000 people in general admission though, so like all in all, I got a good spot. I actually did much better than I probably should have. So things are good, and I'm excited, and I'll be back at 2:30. Yay!
So after that, I spent 30 minutes trying to hail a cab. I no longer had the curb app on my phone because I experienced technical difficulties. So I'm just trying to like wave down a cab under a bridge in Queens where there like aren't a lot of cabs.
Trying to hail a cab and failing, but they're sound checking back safe. Yay!
And I finally get one. I go back to my aunt's, I take a nap, I eat lunch, my mom and my aunt go to Costco and they get me a portable charger, and then at 2:30 I get another cab to go back to CitiField. I get to CitiField just before 3 o'clock. I meet up with a friend, an old childhood friend who is in the 4,000s. I met up with her before I get to my spot in the 2,500s. Meet back up with the girls that I was with earlier in the day. We all stand under this bridge where there is a train running constantly overhead. It is super overcast. It is much colder than it was that morning. There is a constant wind, and now there's drizzle.
Back, I have another like another hour before they let people in, and then even longer for the concert. But I'm here. I'm in line 2576. Yay!
But we're standing there forever. The line isn't moving. Finally, the line starts moving. Girls were trying to cut in front of us as we were getting up to the bullpen. We had to be a little aggressive. We had to link arms. We had to be like, you're not getting past us. We told security that there were girls running and trying to cut past us, and honestly, that was the only way to get them to stop. We tried calling them out and telling them that they were rude. I called them out and I told everyone around us what numbers were on their wristbands, and they were 30 people ahead of where they were supposed to be. They cut 30 people. So call people out. It's not fair. We told security and they got behind us. They didn't get 30 people behind us, but they got behind us, so at least I got what I wanted. But don't be a jerk. Like, once you get your wristband, that's your number. So once we get up to the bullpen gate, we're searched, we're wristbanded. They had to look in my bag. They do the thing where you go in like a T position and they like scan you, metal detector, I think. And then they gave us a green wristband in addition to our numbered wristband. We get into the venue and it's actually not that bad. I was able to get a spot pretty much where I wanted to be in front of that extended stage. I was in the back row, but the back row was honestly probably only like 20 feet away from the stage. Like, not bad at all. At least the extended stage. The furthest stage was very far away, but I wanted to be in front of the extended stage because I wanted to be there for Tier, I wanted to be there for DNA, I wanted to be there for the mic drop, and I knew that they would be on the extended stage.
I'm in. They're right there. That's the extended stage. This is exactly where I want to be.
So I was happy with where I was. I was exactly where I planned on being, and I was over the moon. So people start wedging their way in. I'm separated from the group of girls that I was with, but I'm making new friends, talking to new people, singing along to music videos, doing fan chants, having a good time. BTS pre-show was actually great, even though I had to wait for another 2 hours for the concert to start. It was still worth it. So at this point in the day, I have waited 8.5 hours in line standing up.
Yo! We love a 2013 throwback! Money!
There were girls in front of me, like in the front row in front of the extended stage, who were sitting down. I took note of that, and when they stood up, I pushed forward and I got a little more centered. And that worked out well for me. We're waiting longer. It's probably another 20 minutes before the concert starts, and there's a girl who faints, and EMS has to come through. In the process of them parting away in the crowd, I get jostled up to essentially the second or third row by complete accident. This wasn't something that I was going after, but it happened. And once I was there, I was like, thank you, God. This is a miracle. I'm staying right here all night. I will not budge. And I stayed there. I was just a few feet away from the stage, and I was refusing to move. So there are a few pros and cons to where I was standing. Like I said, I was exactly where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in front of this extended stage, but there are a few things that I didn't realize would be complications, I guess. So the way that the stage is set up is that there were little monitors on the sides, so you can see that it's diamond, and then I'll draw in where there were monitors. At least I think that's what they are, that the band can look down at. I'm almost certain that's what they are. Not 100% positive, but just know that there are little things coming out of the stage that would block someone's view if they're standing super close. And then you also have a cameraman standing at the point in the front. So there were things blocking my view, not 100% of the time, but some of the time. Those were not an issue when the guys were performing on that extended stage or on that catwalk, but it was an issue when they were doing choreography way, way back. I struggled to see Fake Love, I struggled to see Airplane 2, I struggled to see Euphoria and Serendipity, I struggled to see Truth Untold, but that's what I asked for. I wanted to be in the spot that I was, and I was okay with sacrificing having a perfect view of those things. I still could see, but I didn't have a perfect view so that I could have a perfect view of this extended stage. And if I was down way far front at the big stage, I would have to turn around and watch from behind to see Tier, mic drop, the medley. So I was very content with where I was, especially because I could watch via the screen the choreography, and it was choreography that I was familiar with. And I personally wanted to be in front of the extended stage to have a chance to have like interactions with BTS, because I knew that that's where they would do most of their speeches. I knew that that's where they would do most of their songs where they weren't doing choreography and interacting with the crowd. And because I was right in front of that camera, when they were singing to the camera, they were really singing to those of us in the crowd right in front of the camera, which was incredible. I was sung to by Namjoon, I was sung to by Jungkook and Tae and Jin throughout the night. And it was awesome. I was really happy with that I got to make eye contact with members of BTS and be sung to. So another con of standing in GA, and this just comes with GA, is that it's an extremely physically unpleasant experience. In order to see the things at the further stage, I was standing on my toes. I'm a dancer, I'm trained in ballet. I am able to stand on my toes for long periods of time, but 4 minutes is a long time to hold a releve, like standing on your toes. But I made it work, but I was sore the next day from standing that way. I was also constantly getting elbowed, I was constantly getting pushed. There was a moment during run that I did get pushed by the crowd. It was one of those situations where 2 or 3 people must have pushed forward, which caused someone to fall to the side and bump into the person next to them, and then that caused a huge ripple chain reaction where people are just going like this, like all over the place. It was crazy. And I was looking up at the stage and I could see like Jimin and Jin and Tae specifically getting really, really, really nervous about what was happening, and I fell over. I had to put a hand down and then I stood back up. And when I came back up, Jimin was like angrily miming at people not to push, and I know that there were other people who probably fell, but I felt like he was like personally defending my honor, and I'm saving that video forever. I found it on Twitter and I'm saving it. So I had an amazing time at the concert regardless, but just know that like you will be pushed and shoved, you will be elbowed. People who are taking videos, they'll probably have their hands resting on the back of your head or your shoulders. My hair got all tangled and mussed up from people jumping around and being so close that my hair got all funky. Things like that happened. People will try to push past you, and you just have to stand your ground. And I was able to stand my ground. I was in a good spot all night, and I'm really, really happy with it. So here are some of my favorite videos from the concert. So once the concert was over, I went back outside of CitiField and I had to hail another cab. Because I was staying in Queens, the cab drivers wanted to make more money than they could possibly make off of me. Just know that Uber may be a better option for you. Calling something may be a better option for you. There was a train station right outside of CitiField, but the 7 train wouldn't have gotten me that much closer to my aunt's house, so I had to get transportation somehow. Finally, after hailing probably like 20 cabs, after all of them, when I said that I was going to the neighborhood in Queens that I was going to, they all drove away because they wanted to take someone to a part of New York that would have made them a lot more money than they would make by taking me metered to my aunt's house in the same borough. So finally I struck a deal with a cab driver where he said that if he could charge me a flat $40 rate, that he would take me. This was after an hour. I knew I was probably getting scammed, but I needed to be back at my aunt's house. I was exhausted at this point. It's near midnight. It was too much to handle. I just needed to get back to my aunt's. So he takes me back to my aunt's. I pay him the $40 and a tip, and I go to bed. So that was my experience. So here's my advice. I made a list for you. When it comes to what to pack, a lot of people cover this in other videos, but I'll just go ahead and say these things. So snacks, portable charger, money, and your ID. No need to bring a full wallet, but bring money and an ID. I brought a rain poncho, and it actually did drizzle when I was outside. I never had to use it, but just in case, bring a rain poncho, one of those like plastic ones that you can just fold up and throw in a bag. A small water if you can fit it in a small bag, but I would just do a small bag. Hair ties, not something I thought of. I didn't bring it, but there was a girl behind me in the crowd who asked that I pull my hair up because it was getting in her face, and if I had it in like a teeny tiny ponytail, it wouldn't get all up in her face while I was jumping around and dancing. So I did tie up my hair with her hair tie because she asked. That is a courtesy thing. If someone asks you to do it, you should do it, and next time I will bring a hair tie. What to wear? I had such an adorable outfit. It was very BTS inspired, specifically Hoseok inspired. It was so cute. It was fine in the morning when it was warm. When I was waiting the second time in the afternoon, it was super overcast, it was drizzling, it was cold. My fingernails turned blue, I was so cold. So there was a constant wind and it really, really made me freeze. So wear layers that are more thick than the layers that I wore. Layers are important because the venue is hot. You will sweat no matter what you're wearing. If you're standing that close to people, you will sweat. So layers, a thicker layer than what I wore if you're going to a concert in October, but make sure it's something that you can take off and tie around your waist. This would have been great. I didn't bring it, but a hoodie or a sweatshirt is really good. Layers. Sneakers with platforms. I'm wearing them right now. Hoseok inspired. These are my new Fila Disruptor 2s. I freaking love them. They're so comfortable. I bought them specifically for this concert and they're my new favorite pair of sneakers. These make me 1.5 inches taller. So I am typically 5'6", which is like pretty tall for this concert crowd, but 5'7.5", I could see everything super well. Buy a pair of shoes with platforms. Don't wear heels. Things that you can stand in for 8.5 hours and not get tired or be in pain. These are amazing. Buy these shoes. $60, like amazing. Another piece of advice, delete everything off your phone except the essentials. Keep your banking app, keep Uber or Curb or Lyft or whatever, and keep Instagram. Everything else, delete it. Like completely wipe your phone. You're going to want to take pictures and videos. I ran out of storage for videos, even though I like wiped my phone. I ran out of storage for videos and I ended up like going to Instagram and taking videos and adding them to my story to save later. That's another good piece of concert advice if you've never done it. Schedule a cab in advance if you can. This applies for when you're trying to get there multiple times in a day, when you're trying to get back. It'll make your life easier. I wasted 1.5 hours of my day trying to hail cabs back from CitiField to my aunt's house. So schedule your cabs in advance if you can. There's no way to really know like when concerts will end and those kinds of things, but like make a good estimate and schedule your cab in advance. Another major piece of advice is when you're lining up for GA in the morning, if things are like CitiField where it's hectic and they're confused and you're confused, there was a miscommunication between Big Hit and CitiField on what needed to happen, where people needed to line up, and CitiField didn't update us on the true rules of how they were going to do things, trust your gut. That morning, if I trusted my gut and went to the campers and got a number on my hand, I would have been like 200 people further forward than I was because I decided that I wanted to line up in front of the bullpen. So trust your gut. That also applies to when I strayed away from my group to join what I thought would be a better spot in line, and I ended up having to rejoin them because it turns out I was hundreds of people behind them. Trust your gut. Every time I second guessed what was happening, where I was going, where I needed to be, I got a worse spot in line. So don't second guess, trust your gut. It was confusing in this situation because CitiField miscommunicated with us and didn't keep us in the loop, but it would have been better if I just trusted my gut and I didn't second guess things. And also, by dumb luck, I got a great spot, but it was dumb luck. I should not have been in the second row of this concert. 2,576 should not get a good spot at this concert. It just happened to work out that way, and part of that was because I was alone. I didn't have anybody with me to stay with, really. I didn't have to strictly be in a group, so I ended up in a fantastic spot regardless, but trust your gut. Don't second guess. Every time you second guess, you'll get a worse spot in line and subsequently a worse spot in the pit. I totally suggest leaving the venue and coming back if you can. Cabs are expensive, but it was so worth it for me to be able to go and sit in my aunt's house, make myself lunch, and take a nap. I napped for like 1.5 hours, and that made such a huge difference. I don't know how. I would have fallen over calling a cab for an hour that night if I hadn't taken that nap. So go back to your hotel, even just get away from the crowd, like anything to take a break, because it is exhausting to be around that many people, especially if you're like me and you're an introvert. So another thing I suggest is if people are pushing and shoving and you're scared, wave down a security guard. There were multiple times in the night that they were telling people to go back, they were telling people not to push. The crowd will trust their authority over you yelling at people to stop. Like I said, I fell over during the concert, and I'm thankful that Jimin saw and told people to stop, but it's really, really dangerous to fall over. I was terrified, I was scared I was gonna be trampled. So like, don't let that happen. Stand your ground. Don't let people move you. One thing that I suggest, this isn't pushing, but it's actively resisting. If you feel someone trying to push and take your spot, just activate the muscles in that side of your body, and that should be enough to keep them at bay and to keep your spot. Have a wide stance, really plant yourself in the ground, and they will not move you. Like I said, if people are sitting down in front of you before the concert starts to save their spot, as soon as they stand up, walk forward. You will get a better spot. That's just like GA Pit 101. Walk forward as soon as they stand up and you will be in a much better position. That got me up to maybe like 5th row instead of like way in the back, and then of course later I ended up in the 2nd row just by like dumb luck. When it comes to seeing BTS, because of that diamond stage, I was like right at the tip, right at the center in the front. I suggest maybe going further to the side. You'll get more interactions with the guys, and you'll have a better view of that further backstage if you're interested in seeing those bigger choreographies. And like I said, I was still able to see stuff, but it was a struggle. I'm pretty sure I didn't see like any of Airplane 2, and I love Yoongi, he's my bias, and I really struggled to see Seesaw. So just keep that in mind when you pick your spot. One last thing, if you want to get merch, I suggest tag teaming with someone. I had plans with a friend from home who had a seat that when she arrived at the stadium, she was going to get in the merch line. It didn't work out, things still sold out, but I think that would be more effective than hopping right in line after getting my wristband. I probably could have gotten a t-shirt if I did that, but I was really tired and I wanted to take that nap. For me, the nap was more important than the merch. And it makes me sad because I really want a t-shirt. I'm gonna see if I can get one on eBay or something. So yeah, you kind of just have to weigh that. Like, do you want to get away from all these people and rest before the concert, or do you want to get merch? I personally also didn't have that much money, and it kind of saved my wallet a little bit that I didn't spend $55 on a t-shirt. So I'm just gonna share a few highlights before I say goodbye, just because I like sharing this experience and I want to talk about it more, and I don't have a lot of friends who like BTS to talk to about this. So some highlights for me were interacting with the members. I did have interactions with all of them. It was absolutely lovely. There was a moment during Just Dance that I realized how close we are, because Just Dance was the first number that someone came down onto that extended stage. So when I saw Hoseok dancing down the catwalk, getting right in front of me, there's literally the moment where you can hear me say, "Oh my god," in the video, because I realized how close he was and how close all of them were going to be to me for the entire concert. Another highlight for me was I learned the Seesaw chant. It was the only chant I really had time to learn. I'm a college student, I'm in conservatory training, which means that I'm an artist in class from like 8 a.m. To like 7 p.m. and then I have rehearsal until like 1 in the morning. So like, I'm a very busy gal. I don't have a lot of time to learn fan chants. So I learned one, and it was Seesaw. It was super hard to learn, but I executed it perfectly and I'm super proud of it. That was a highlight for me, knowing that I like nailed Seesaw. The hit medley was my favorite part of the whole concert. We had Boys with Fun, Attack on Bangtan, Fire, Dope, and Bapse. I think that's right. I think that's all of them. Bapse is my favorite BTS song. Seeing them perform Bapse was amazing. Boys with Fun was also just incredible. That was my favorite part of the concert, and I wish that they did both hit medleys because I wanted to see Boy in Love and Danger and Go Go, but I'm so happy that I got to see Bepse and Dope and Fire and Boys with Fun and Attack on Bangtan. It was so amazing. Also, I loved getting to see Mic Drop with the dance break. I didn't get the dance break on video, but incredible. I love that choreography more than anything, and I remember watching that video on YouTube and being like, oh, like, I wish that I was there so that I could see them all more clearly. Like, I wish I could see Yoongi at this part. Like, and I did. I had a perfect view of Yoongi during the Mic Drop dance break, and that's exactly what I wanted. So very, very happy that they did that. Water bottle stuff, like the holy water thing. I was blessed by Yoongi, Hoseok, and Jungkook. So, blessed. And then lastly, the speeches that the boys gave. At the very end of the concert, them saying that they'd be back next year, them just thanking us for being there, saying that we changed their lives, and then all of us as a crowd in unison just like cheering for them and being like, you changed our lives. Like, that moment of communication was absolutely wonderful and so important to me. I cried, and I'm so thankful for them and everything they've given me. They have changed my life. I won't get into that, but they have had a massive impact on my life and my health, and I'm so thankful for them. And I'm so happy that they're coming back next year, because now that I know all this stuff, I will be going back to GA. I will be going again, and I'm willing to travel to go to these concerts. So I had an amazing time. So that wraps up my advice and my CitiField experience. So if you have any questions, just drop a comment, let me know. I do have a fan account that I don't really use. I think I'm gonna start using it more frequently, but here's the @ I'm not gonna explain the @ you know what, I will. When I first got into BTS, I thought of a dumb idea for a meme, and so I just started posting like homemade BTS memes based on stuff that I had seen on like Tumblr, and it's kind of lame, but that's my account. I don't really use it. Maybe I'll start using it after I make this video, but yeah, so you can follow that if you want. You can DM me and ask me questions. Whatever's fine. So if you're watching this, about to go to a Love Yourself concert, like, best of luck. It's an amazing time, and yeah, have a great time. I wish I were you. I wish I could go again. So